brought the monkeys here?" Her tone was light, almost playful. "Monkeys belong in the cargo." The whole cabin froze. A few passengers laughed, others just stared. Two young black twins sat quietly in first class, elegant, composed, expensive without even trying. They didn't say a word, not yet. The flight attendant smirked, holding a tray of plastic cups. "Water for you two," she said sweetly. "Champagne's reserved for first-class passengers." Laughter again. A man in 2A chuckled. "Guess they sneaked in through economy." Ava Carter looked up slowly. Her eyes didn't blink. "Water's fine," she said softly. But that softness had power. Aiden shifted beside her, his jaw tight, his voice low. "Let it go," he murmured. And they did. For now. Because what no one on that plane knew was that the monkeys they mocked owned the airline. The laughter didn't stop. If anything, it grew louder. A few phones even lifted, discreetly, to record. Ava and Aiden sat still, eyes forward. The twins had learned something early in life. Power doesn't shout, it waits. But that flight attendant, she wasn't done. She leaned in, voice dripping with fake politeness. "Let me know if you two need bananas." A ripple of cruel laughter broke out. Someone muttered, "Guess they'll feel right at home in the jungle section." Aiden's hand tightened around the armrest. Ava could see it, the rage, the restraint. She whispered, barely audible, "Breathe." He did, barely. The attendant turned away, smiling like she'd just done the world a favor. She strutted down the aisle, hips sharp, heels tapping. The sound was louder than the engines. A man in a tailored gray suit smirked. "First-class standards dropping fast," he said to no one. A woman beside him whispered, "I thought airlines did background checks." Ava's chest tightened, but her face didn't move. They'd seen worse, but not this public. The captain's voice echoed through the cabin. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard Carter Air Flight 07 to Paris. Estimated flight time, 8 hours, 45 minutes. The name hung there. Carter Air. No one connected it yet. Aiden let out a small breath. "They're flying our name and still calling us monkeys," he muttered. Ava smiled faintly. "Good. Let them." The attendant came back, this time with a smirk that could cut glass. "Sir, I'm afraid that seatbelt doesn't fit properly. Maybe you should try a wider one." The passengers snickered. Aiden turned his face to the window, jaw tight. Ava's reflection stared back at her, composed, unshaken, royal. The attendant leaned closer. "Would you like me to move you two to the back? Might be more comfortable?" Silence. Ava finally turned to her. Slow, controlled, dangerous. "No, we'll stay right here." The attendant shrugged. "Suit yourselves." As she walked off again, the twins shared a glance. That silent, telepathic twin language. Aiden's eyes asked, "Why let this slide?" Ava's replied, "Because she's about to learn who's flying who." Across the aisle, a little girl tugged at her mother's sleeve. "Mummy, why are they being mean to them?" Her mother hushed her quickly. The twins heard. They smiled, faintly, sadly. A few minutes later, turbulence hit. The lights flickered. Ava calmly fastened her belt. The attendant stumbled, catching herself on a seat, face twisting. "Ugh, can't even sit properly," she muttered under her breath as she passed them again. Ava's patience cracked, just slightly. She reached for the call button. Ping! The attendant turned, annoyed. Yes? Could you bring us the passenger list? Ava asked sweetly. We'd like to check something. The woman scoffed. That's confidential. Ava nodded slowly. Of course. Then just bring the in-flight manager, please. Her tone was polite, but something in it made the attendant hesitate. She walked off, confused, frowning. What are you doing? Aiden whispered. Reminding her where she works, Ava said softly. Her eyes flicked toward the golden logo stitched on the headrest, Carter Air, the same name engraved on their family crest back home. 5 rows back, 2 businessmen argued about stocks. A socialite scrolled through her phone. No one noticed the quiet shift in atmosphere until the manager appeared. A short, middle-aged man in a navy suit hurried down the aisle, face pale. He leaned toward the attendant, whispered words. Her expression changed. First confusion, then shock, then fear. She looked at the twins again, really looked. Aiden Carter, Ava Carter. The names clicked. The Carters. The air felt heavier now, every heartbeat louder than the engines. Ava lifted her cup, took a slow sip of water. You seem nervous, she said softly. Everything all right? The attendant swallowed. Yes, ma'am, perfectly fine. Good, Ava smiled faintly. Because this flight is just getting started. The manager's radio crackled. Someone from the cockpit wanted confirmation. Special passengers on board. Code Black priority. Ava set her cup down. Tell the captain he can relax. The owners are comfortable. The air inside first class felt heavy now. You could taste the silence. The attendant froze halfway down the aisle, tray trembling. Her smile collapsed. Her eyes darted between the twins and the manager, searching for a way out that didn't exist. Mr. and Ms. Carter? The manager stammered. Ava and Aiden Carter? As in Carter Air? Ava tilted her head slightly, a slow, calm smile. That's right. The man's color drained. The attendant's lips parted, but no sound came. All around them, passengers who had laughed moments earlier sank lower in their seats. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." Someone else covered their mouth. Aiden leaned back, voice quiet but sharp. Still think we belong in the cargo? No one laughed now. The attendant's hand shook so hard the plastic cup rattled. Water splashed onto the floor. Sir, ma'am, I didn't know. I had no idea. Ava cut her off. You didn't need to know who we were. You just needed to know what respect looks like. The woman's eyes filled fast. She tried a smile that wouldn't stay. I was just joking. You know how passengers get. I meant no... Stop. Aiden's voice sliced through her excuses. Don't try to explain racism as humor. The manager stepped in, nervous sweat beading on his temple. Miss Carson, please return to the galley. But Ava lifted a hand. No, let her stay. Every eye in the cabin was on them now. Phones rose again, this time not to mock, but to record history. Aiden sat forward. You served us plastic cups. You called us monkeys. Now look around. Does this look like the cargo hold to you? The attendant's breathing quickened. Tears welled. Her confidence crumbled in real time. The manager whispered into his radio. Cabin to cockpit. Confirm code black. Owner heirs on board. Immediate protocol. The captain's reply crackled through the speaker. Confirmed. Advise full priority service. Notify corporate. Passengers stared as the weight of those words hit. Corporate. Within seconds, the plane's energy shifted. A different attendant appeared with champagne flutes on a silver tray, voice shaking slightly. Mr. and Miss Carter, compliments of the captain. Ava didn't touch the glass. Thank you, she said evenly. But we'll keep our water. Aiden's eyes never left the attendant who had mocked them. He spoke softly, but his tone could cut metal. Tell me something. When you saw two black passengers in first class, what did you think we were? She swallowed hard. I don't know. Yes, you do. Aiden's voice was steady. You thought we didn't belong here. No one moved. Even the engine noise felt muted. Ava turned to the passengers. You laughed, she said quietly. You all laughed. That's how it always starts, with laughter. A woman in pearls looked away. The man in 2A pretended to check his watch. Now you know who we are, but nothing's changed. Ava's tone was calm, icy. We were worth respect before you knew our last name. The attendant burst out. Please, I lose my job. I have a family. Then you should have remembered that when you opened your mouth, Aiden replied. She looked at the manager, begging with her eyes. He whispered something into his radio again. Moments later, the captain made an announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, we apologize for the disruption earlier. An incident has been reported and is being handled. We ask that all recordings stop immediately. They didn't stop. Phones kept rolling. The internet loves karma. Ava leaned closer to her brother. They'll try to silence this, she murmured. Let them try, Aiden said. Another attendant appeared with a tablet. Ms. Carter, corporate is on video call, the CEO himself. Ava took the tablet without standing. Her voice was low and measured. Good evening, Mr. Miller. Yes, it's true. We're on Flight 07. Pause. She listened, then smiled faintly. Yes, that one. She handed the tablet back to the manager. He'll speak to you directly after landing. The manager nodded, sweat dark on his collar. The attendant, Miss Carson, stood frozen. Her hands twitched like she wanted to run, but there was nowhere to go. Ava looked out the window. Clouds floated like mountains of cotton below. Her reflection was steady. Funny, she said softly. All this hate for two people trying to fly. Aiden exhaled. We've been here before, just never this high up. The manager cleared his throat. Mr. and Ms. Carter, corporate requests permission to deplane the attendant upon arrival and hold a hearing immediately. Approved, Ava said without looking away from the window. But make sure it's recorded, no cover-ups. The attendant's knees buckled. She grabbed a seat for support. Aiden stood slowly. Sit down, he told her. No more performing, just sit and think. She did. Minutes passed. No one spoke. The tension was a storm in silence. Finally, a soft ping. Seatbelt sign off. The plane had leveled out. But no one moved, because they all knew something far bigger than turbulence had just shaken this flight. A little boy in row 3 whispered to his dad, Daddy, they own the plane? His father nodded, humbled. Yes, son, they do. Ava heard it. She smiled to herself. Across the aisle, Miss Carson hid her face in her hands. She whispered a prayer that no one heard. But for the internet, it was already too late. One passenger's clip hit upload mid-flight. By the time the plane landed, #CarterAir was trending worldwide. By the time the plane touched down in Paris, the world already knew. Clips from the flight, the insult, the humiliation, the reveal, had flooded every platform. Twitter, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. Even the cabin crew's private Facebook group leaked screenshots. Carter Air trended at #1. #monkeys in first class trended right beside it, for all the wrong reasons. Millions of comments poured in, some furious, some shocked, and some, disturbingly, defending the flight attendant. Maybe it was just a joke. Why do they always play the race card? People are too sensitive. Aiden scrolled quietly as the plane taxied, his jaw clenched tighter with every word. Same old story. They insult you, then call you emotional for reacting. Ava's phone buzzed again non-stop. Their father's name flashed on the screen, Victor Carter. She didn't answer, not yet. The captain's voice came through the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived in Paris. Please remain seated." No one moved. Half the passengers couldn't even look at the twins. The manager approached slowly. "Mr. and Ms. Carter, corporate security will meet you at the gate." Ava smiled politely. "That won't be necessary." She stood, calm, composed, regal. Every movement deliberate, the kind of poise you can't fake. As she stepped into the aisle, phones came out again. Passengers tried not to stare. Some whispered apologies, others pretended to sleep. Ms. Carson, the flight attendant, stayed in the galley trembling. Tears had ruined her mascara. She looked like she'd aged 10 years in one flight. Ava paused near her. "You said monkeys belong in the cargo. Now tell me, who really doesn't belong in first class?" Ms. Carson's lip quivered. "Please, I'm sorry." "I know. You're just not sorry you said it. You're sorry we heard it." Then she turned and walked out. No shouting, no drama. Just quiet, devastating grace. Outside, the airport buzzed like a live wire. Cameras, microphones, reporters. Somehow the media had arrived before they did. A journalist called out, "Ava! Aiden! How does it feel to be disrespected on your own airline?" Ava didn't stop walking. "Feels familiar," she said. "We're just not staying silent this time." Flashbulbs popped like lightning. Within hours, the Carter Air Board was in emergency session. The CEO, sweating on camera, issued a statement. "We are deeply sorry. The incident on Flight 07 does not reflect our company values. The employee has been suspended pending investigation." But that wasn't enough. People wanted accountability. Influencers dissected every second of the clip. Reaction videos filled the feed. "She really said monkeys on camera? Wait until you hear who they were." "Instant karma at 30,000 feet. Hashtags multiplied. Hashtag flying while black. Hashtag instant karma. Hashtag Carter twins. The story wasn't just viral, it was cultural. Ava and Aiden sat in their hotel suite overlooking the Seine. Laptops open, phones buzzing, news playing on every screen. Ava turned the volume down. They'll fire her, issue an apology, pretend it's handled. Then we vanish, until the next one does it again. They fell silent. The city lights shimmered across the glass, gold on black. "We could make this mean something bigger than us," Ava whispered. You're thinking a press conference. No, Ava said. A reform. An idea sparked. Carter Air would launch a global initiative, Project Elevate, a program that required every employee, from pilots to attendants, to undergo cultural respect and bias training. Anonymous reporting lines, real consequences, zero tolerance. And it wouldn't just be for Carter Air. They'd open it to the entire aviation industry. Turn humiliation into education. Make sure no one else hears what we heard. Aiden smiled faintly. Now that's power. Meanwhile, back at corporate HQ, chaos. Executives scrambled to contain the PR wildfire. Some begged for the twins to keep quiet. Others tried to spin the story as misunderstanding. But the twins didn't take calls. They were already rewriting the script. That night, Ava recorded a short video on her phone. No makeup, no studio, just truth. Yesterday, a flight attendant called us monkeys because of our skin color, she said. She didn't know we owned the airline. But this isn't about her. It's about the world that made her think that was okay. We're launching Project Elevate to rebuild what respect should mean at 30,000 feet. She ended with a question. When was the last time you stayed silent when someone was disrespected? Then she hit post. Within an hour, 10 million views. Within a day, 60. The comments flooded in. This gave me chills. Respect to the Carters. Finally, power used right. Even airlines that once competed with Carter Air publicly pledged to join the initiative. But not everyone was happy. Some board members whispered about damage control. Others worried about lawsuits. Ava didn't care. She wasn't trying to save their brand. She was trying to change it. Back in the crew lounge, Miss Carson watched the video through swollen eyes. Her phone vibrated. Messages from friends, family, strangers. Some hateful, some forgiving. All reminding her that the world had seen. She pressed her palms together, whispering, "Please, just one more chance." By midnight, Carter Air issued a new official statement. Effective immediately, the flight attendant involved has been terminated. We are cooperating with Project Elevate, led by Ava and Aiden Carter, to ensure respect, equality, and dignity for all. The internet exploded again. But this time, it wasn't outrage. It was admiration. The same passengers who'd laughed now posted apologies. Influencers who mocked them made reaction videos apologizing too. One caption went viral. They called them monkeys. They showed them what humanity looks like. Aiden closed his laptop, sighing. Think they'll change? Ava looked out the window at the Paris skyline. Not on overnight, she said. But we've started something, and that's enough. A pause. Then her phone buzzed again. A message from their father. Proud of you both. You handled it with grace. The world needed to see this. Ava smiled. Guess we just turned turbulence into transformation. The next morning, Carter Air headquarters didn't feel like an office. It felt like a courtroom. Executives packed the glass-walled boardroom. Suits, coffee, panic. Phones buzzed with non-stop alerts. The world was still talking. At the head of the table, Ava Carter. Beside her, Aiden. Across from them, the CEO, Richard Miller, flanked by lawyers and PR heads. The tension, thick enough to taste. Richard cleared his throat. Ava, Aiden, first let me say how sorry we are. We've already dismissed the attendant. We saw. A termination letter isn't justice, it's cleanup. Murmurs rippled down the table. Aiden leaned forward, voice low. We built this airline to represent excellence, not embarrassment. Tell me, Richard, what exactly are your diversity protocols? Richard hesitated. We, we conduct annual sensitivity training, online slides, or real education. No answer, just silence. Ava stood slowly. The sunlight caught the gold edges of her suit, power wrapped in calm. We're not here for PR spin. We're here for accountability. You'll start with a full internal audit. Every crew, every base, every policy. An HR director tried to interject. Miss Carter, if we go public with that, investors will trust us more, Ava said sharply. Transparency builds value. Pretending builds collapse. The room froze again. A PR officer whispered, "This could cost millions." Aiden's reply was instant. So does silence. Richard glanced toward his legal team. One of them, Miss Davenport, corporate counsel, finally spoke. With respect, the incident was isolated. We can't rebrand an entire airline around one mistake. Aiden's eyes darkened. Isolated? He slid his phone across the table. On screen, videos from passengers across other flights. Comments, DMs, stories. Incidents that never made headlines. It's not isolated. It's systemic, Ava said. She tapped play. The room filled with snippets of crew gossip, leaked chats, racist jokes. Every face around the table turned pale. Richard whispered, "Where did you get this?" People sent it, Ava said. The moment they realized we'd listen. The HR director tried to recover. "We'll need time. You've had years," Aiden cut in. "Now you have 48 hours." Richard rubbed his forehead. "Ava, Aiden, please, we can't run an airline on outrage." Ava stepped closer. "We're not running it on outrage. We're running it on truth." Across the table, Miss Davenport's tablet pinged. She frowned, scrolling fast. Her eyes widened. "What is it?" Richard asked. "A leak," she said quietly. "Someone inside released internal memos, managers ignoring passenger complaints, crew punished for reporting discrimination." Gasps. The PR director swore under his breath. "It's everywhere. CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera." Ava exhaled slowly. "Good. Now the world can see what we're fixing." The CFO leaned forward, voice tight. "You're turning this into a crusade." "No," Ava replied. "A course correction." Aiden added, "And if any of you think this hurts profits, think again. Integrity pays longer than ignorance." Richard finally broke. "All right. What do you want?" Ava didn't blink. 3 things. 1. Immediate reinstatement of every employee previously punished for reporting bias. 2. Full funding for Project Elevate. No limits, no delays. 3. Board restructuring. New diversity oversight seats appointed by the Carter Foundation. The board erupted. "Impossible. You'll tank investor confidence. You can't just—" Aiden raised a hand. "Quiet." He pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. Inside, a signed directive bearing their father's signature. "We can." The paper said it all. Ownership override. The Carters weren't just figureheads. They were majority shareholders. The room fell silent, utterly silent. Richard sank back in his chair. "You planned this." "No," Ava said. "We responded." She looked around the table. "Every airline says they stand for equality. We're the first proving it." The PR head whispered, "This will make history." "Good," Ava said. "Then maybe history will stop repeating itself." Hours later, the press conference began. Cameras flashed as the twins took the stage. not as victims, but as reformers. A reporter shouted, "Ava, Aiden, are you firing anyone else?" "No," Ava said. "We're rehiring the truth." Gasps, applause, clicking shutters like thunder. Aiden stepped forward. "To everyone who's ever been disrespected in a place you paid to be, this is for you. You don't need power to be worthy of respect, but if you have power, use it." The audience stood. Journalists, employees, even rivals. Back in the boardroom, Richard watched the live feed. He sighed, almost smiling. "They're better leaders than we ever were." Miss Davenport nodded. "And they just saved the company." Later that night, the twins stood on the rooftop of the Carter Air Tower. The city glittered below, planes taking off into the dark. "Think they'll mean it this time?" "They will, because we're watching." They clinked glasses, not champagne, just water. A symbol, a reminder. From insult to influence, from mockery to movement. The skies were theirs again. A week later, the sky felt quieter. No cameras, no chaos, just clouds, endless, forgiving clouds. Carter Air's new ad campaign had launched that morning. Respect takes flight. It wasn't about jets or luxury. It was about people. Every face, every story, every color. The company stock? Up 12%. Public trust? Higher than ever. But for the twins, this was never about profit. Ava scrolled through comments on her phone. Thousands of passengers had shared their own stories, moments they'd stayed silent, times they'd spoken up. She smiled. "We'd turned pain into policy," she murmured. Aiden nodded, "and policy into power." That afternoon, they received a request from Ms. Carson, the attendant. She wanted to meet, privately. Aiden frowned. "You sure?" Ava hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah, closure matters." A vast, empty hangar, sunlight spilling through the open doors, a single plane gleaming in the distance, Flight 07. Ms. Carson stood waiting. Plain clothes, no uniform, no pride, just regret. Her hands trembled as the twins approached. I don't expect forgiveness," she began. "I just needed to say I was wrong." Aiden's face stayed unreadable. Ava's eyes, calm but firm. "You were," Ava said. "But owning it, that's the first step." The woman blinked fast, fighting tears. "When I said those words, I thought it was funny. I didn't see the harm." "That's the problem," Aiden said quietly. "You didn't have to see it. We lived it." Silence. The echo of truth in a hollow hangar. Ms. Carson looked down. "I lost my job, my reputation, but what hurts most is knowing my daughter saw that video. She asked if her mom was a bad person." Ava's eyes softened. "What did you tell her?" "That I'm trying to be better." A long pause. Ava extended her hand. "Then start here." Ms. Carson stared, stunned. You're forgiving me?" "Forgiving isn't forgetting. It's freeing." Aiden added, "We'll be watching your progress, but everyone deserves one second chance, not a second excuse." The woman nodded, tears falling. "Thank you." As the twins walked away, Aiden whispered, "You really think she'll change?" "If she doesn't, the world will remind her." News outlets called it the flight that changed aviation. Other airlines adopted Project Elevate. Universities studied the case as a model for corporate transformation. At the next press event, Ava spoke on stage. This was never about revenge. It was about reminding the world what human dignity sounds like. Applause thundered. Aiden closed with one line.
If you see someone being humiliated in public, don't look away.
The night sky glowed like liquid silver. A new Carter Air jet waited on the runway, its tail painted in gold. Elevate. Beneath it, cameras flashed, reporters shouted questions, but the twins walked on, calm, untouchable. Ava's heels clicked softly against the tarmac. Aiden walked beside her, suit sharp, expression unreadable. Every flashbulb captured a new symbol, grace under fire. They reached the steps of the jet. Ava paused, looked back. Rows of journalists, a sea of faces, some cheering, some guilty, all watching. "Remember this view," she said quietly. "This is what change looks like." Aiden turned to her, smirking slightly. "Think they finally got the message?" Ava's gaze lifted toward the Carter Air logo glowing in the dark. "If they didn't," she said, "we'll keep flying until they do." She nodded to the pilot. Engines roared, thunder in metallic harmony. The jet rolled forward, lifting into the sky like a promise kept. Cut to aerial shot, the plane slicing through clouds, moonlight glinting off the word elevate. They called them monkeys, tried to humiliate them in front of the world, but respect isn't granted by class or color. It's earned, and they just taught the skies a lesson they'll never forget. The music swells, strings and percussion rising like heartbeats. Then, Ava's voice cuts in, calm but commanding. "When someone disrespects you, you have two choices: fight dirty or rise higher. We chose to rise. Now it's your turn. What would you do if the world called you less than human? Would you stay silent or would you rise?" Comment below, rise or stay silent. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more true power stories.